Hello everyone, welcome back to this video series on how to make a car in Autodesk Fusion 360. So thank you again everyone for your support. It's really helping me put out more videos every week. This is the second video of this week. I can't promise that I can keep this up, but I will try at least once a week. Thank you so much for your encouragement. The number of subscribers is growing and it's pretty impressive. And we are going to try and make it to 5,000 subscribers by the end of 2023. So fingers crossed, hopefully we can make it. It'll be very kind of you if you wanted to share this channel with your friends, with your groups on Facebook and any other communities that you might be a part of to join this community together. And in the month of August, we're going to also start doing some Patreon projects, which I'm very, very excited to announce in the near future. Another update I have is that on Monday, the 24th of July at 6 p.m. UK, I will be going live and doing another modeling session. And this time it's going to be the Dassault Falcon 6X or a similar variant, depending on which blueprints I can find in time. So I'm excited to see you all there. Last time we did the Airbus A330. And a few of you turned up, a few of you stayed for the whole thing, which I'm very, very grateful for. Always helps to encourage and keep the support going. So let's get cracking onto this video. So in the last video, we left off somewhere around this point where we had this bit of a side section above the arch or the arc of the wheel and a little bit on the window and a little bit of the front. Now in this video, we're going to be doing something a little bit more challenging, but definitely a little bit more exciting. We're going to start making this Mercedes either in this one or in the next tutorial to start looking like a Mercedes. Now, just before recording this tutorial, I tried out a couple variants. I tried out a couple methods to achieve the best result desirable. So again, what would be nice is I'll tell you what we're about to do. You pause this video, you try it out yourself, and then you come and see how I did it. And if you had a different way of doing it or you found a better result, please let us know in the comments below. We would love to see what that method was. So in this video, we're going to be focusing on this section here entirely. So the section with the headlights, this section here, the section with the grills in the front, and just make it up to the halfway point. Now, depending on time, we'll either add the details or we won't add the details. Now, hear me out before we actually start this. So what I tried doing was creating this section first, then this section here, then this section. But there are actually multiple ways of doing this, and I'm going to do one which I found to be the best. But essentially, you can either try to do everything in one sweep and then try adding details later, or you can do a balance where you do some of the things as a single surface, and then some of them as detailed surfaces, and then add on more detail, or you take it one surface at a time and then add the details. In the past, I used to do one thing, but in this tutorial, I'm going to do another thing because I feel like it might be a better approach. Now's the time if you want to pause the video. Okay, so hopefully you did pause the video and try it out. And now let's have a look at what we can do. So I'm going to start from the side sketch. So create a sketch. I'm going to make sure 3D sketch is enabled. Fit point spline. Again, pretty much what we've been doing during this entire time. Okay. So I'm going to create a spline here. And I'm going to finish it somewhere over here. And if you remember in the previous video, we created this arch as an actual circular arch. However, when I tried doing this in 3D, it didn't quite work out. So what I decided to do now is I've just created a spline, and I'm going to maneuver this spline to look very, very closely, very close to how we made the arch previously. And because we know that the wheel, we also know that if you follow my mouse, all of this is, most of it is an arc, but when you come down from somewhere here, it stops being an arch. So I thought, why not just use a spline in the first place to do this? Obviously, if you wanted a more accurate representation, I would fully suggest making a 3D arc and then ending it off with a spline. But for now, I'm happy with this based on the car that we're modeling. Okay, so this is what it is from the side view. We're going to now look at the top view. And since this is a relatively flat area over here, I'm going to leave this and not maneuver it any further in 3D space. Now comes the challenging bit. This is where you could have done things a bit differently. But what I'm going to do is I will start with this spline here. So sorry, this point here. And I'm going to go, believe it or not, but all the way till the front. So this is what it looks like from the side right now. But if you look at the top, it's most probably going to be a straight line, correct? So I'm going to just grab that point over there, which we've just created. I'm going to press M on my keyboard and I'm going to drag it till the center. Now, in this particular place, because it's a 3D sketch, you cannot guarantee that this point will indeed land at the middle point of the plane of symmetry. And that's actually okay for now, because we'll actually start trimming things away. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it just slightly over the center line. So if this is our plane of symmetry, then our point would ideally be somewhere here. So what I've done is I've just made it a little bit above that point of plane of symmetry. I'm going to go ahead and press enter. And again, this is still just a straight line, but remember it's a spline. So we're going to stop maneuvering this. Click on the actual line. Then you click on the green line, which gets highlighted. Right click, activate tangent handle. I'm going to press that little dot there on the handle itself. Press M on my keyboard, and I'm basically going to do this throughout the entire tutorial. So just going to grab this till I can achieve something that looks almost like a vertical line. And maybe now I can start maneuvering this down so we can add that curvature there. Okay, that's starting to look good. I'm going to press enter. And here I'm going to do the same thing. So highlight that green line, activate tangent handle, make sure I click on the dot and not on the line. Sometimes it takes a few tries, that's okay. Okay, and then I'm going to try and make it so it matches that straight line there, or maybe add a little bit of curvature. Okay, press OK. And this is what it looks like now from the top. This is what it looks like from the side, and from the front it also looks decent. So once you've reached this point, we're now going to try and create a line from here to here, and then all the way here, up until that point over there. And again, so we can just go back to our side view, press fit point spline, take that, bring it up until we follow that line there, so maybe over here. And this is because we are trying to end our lines over here, not where the black grill starts, but just beneath that. So this curve over here. Okay, so again, continue with your splines. So let's go back to the side view. We'll add one more point here, and then we'll top it off with this one here. So what we're going to try and do is now from the front, we can see we've created a bit of a mess, but don't worry, just gently move that middle point into its position over here. And now we can try and gently use the tangents to control the movements. So try and make this as flat as possible. So try and make this tangent as horizontal as possible. Okay, and the funny thing is, if I click on this and actually use the horizontal or vertical constraint, it's going to make it constrained from this view, but watch what happens from the side view. Oh, actually, it's okay. But sometimes you'll notice that it'll act completely crazy. Maybe the line will end up in a very different position that you intended it to be. In this case, it worked, so I'm going to continue with it. But if it doesn't work, just make sure you can try and get that tangent line to be as horizontal as possible. Okay, so we're going to do something with this tangent now. So I'm going to pull it down just a bit. And then we can try and play with this one as well if you wanted to. Okay, And now from the side, it actually looks pretty decent from the side as well. So I'm going to leave it like this. So let's do finish. And now I'm going to try and patch this. So I'm going to click on patch, make sure enable chaining is disabled. I'm going to click on these surfaces and then these lines that we have just created. And voila, there we go. We now have our front surface of the Mercedes. So well done on getting to this point. It is quite challenging to reach this point, especially with the front surface being a little bit more complex than any other part that we've done. But since we did that relatively quickly, I can spend a little bit more time in this video to do one of two things. So one of the things is to actually create this surface over here. And this is because this surface that I'm highlighting is actually a little bit more in the front of the car than it is in the back. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a few seconds. The other thing we could do is add details. So we could actually cut off this section here as well as of the headlights. And that would start making it look more like a Mercedes. But if you notice carefully, the headlights actually require a bit of the front section of the car to be completed before the headlights can get their actual shape. So my strategy is that we do this section here first, and in the next video, we can start adding a bit of detail. So let's do that. So why is this bit a little bit more challenging as well? That's because we've created these curves before, and now we're going to try and utilize these curves. So if you go to the side view, we can see over here that this section over here is a little bit coming towards the front of the car. And in some cars, it's a little bit more, it sort of curves inwards, whereas in this one, it's actually a very nice, smooth sort of edge curve in the front. So we're going to make this section here, which is still white in color, and then we can do the black one a bit later. That's not a problem at all. So what we'll do is maybe we'll start with the front. So we'll use the front plane, start a new sketch, 3D sketches on, fit point spline. And what I'll do is I'll hook on to this point surface over here. So that point on that surface here. And I'm just going to go vertically up a little bit. Cool. That's all we need to do for now. And now I'm going to latch on to that surface. Remember, so we're trying to create individual splines, but the next one, we're going to try adding multiple points in the same spline. So watch what happens. I click once, twice, thrice, thrice, 4 times, and finally then somewhere over here. And watch again that this is not quite lining up with this yet. And that's okay, we can stay patient for now. And the reason why we've done this is because this is actually quite a nice smooth curve. And ideally you'd like to add as little points as possible, but let's try and see what happens. I'm curious. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to try and align this to the middle. So just do a bit of that, try to make that as flat as possible. And then I'm going to move this one down a little bit. I think that one's okay. Maybe we can shift the tangent a little bit. Cool. And this one can go in a bit. And this one's tangent now needs to be controlled a little bit. So maybe something like this. And finally, we can add another spline that connects from here to here. Maybe if I really wanted, I can move this in just ever so slightly. Cool. Now we've got this, and I think I can move this a bit as well, just to slightly above. Maybe slightly back down again, just because we want that to be as straight as possible. Okay, I'm just going to save this because the moment splines start getting involved, it's always a good idea to save your Fusion files, otherwise Fusion can crash. Okay, cool. So what we'd like to do now is we'd actually like to try and patch all of this together. But I might try and warn you now, it's possible that it might not work. And if it doesn't work, let's try and troubleshoot it together. So first off, let's just create a patch. And I'm going to disable chaining, so don't have that ticked there. I'm going to click on all of the surrounding edges. And there we go. So you see, it's not actually allowing me to press OK. And there might be a few reasons for this. I feel like maybe the sketch is quite complex and therefore it can't find a natural way of connecting all the surfaces together to create a patch. Not a problem. One thing we can do before we actually patch this up is let's go to the side view, and we can see this is actually currently an entirely straight line, which is not actually correct. We want this spline to follow this line over here, so just behind the black bits. So what I can do is one at a time, I can try and pull these back. So I'm going to press M on my keyboard and I'm just going to pull this back till where it matches its position. So over there, from here I'm going to do the same thing, just pull it back. No need to do anything with the tangents just yet. It's possible that they might align themselves back to how we want them once all the points come together. So you can see that already fixed itself a little bit. I'm going to press OK, and I'm going to do the same thing for this one. So just go back. Cool. And then I think it's this one. So we can just go to the front view to see what's the next one. That is the one. Press M on my keyboard. Go back. Just a bit. Cool. So that doesn't look very nice, but that's okay. What we can do now is, because this already looks good from the front view, what we can try and do is not move the tangents up and down, but just in and out. So if I click on one of these, let's click on that point, edit the sketch, and I'm going to try and maneuver this tangent. So press M, just try going in and out rather than doing up and down. Because if you do up and down, then it will also go up and down from the front view, and we don't want that to happen. So just try and do in and out. So just in or out. Press OK. And now this one's quite big as well, so we can try pulling this in a little bit. And this one looks okay to me because this is actually curving in. Cool. So let's try that. Let's finish the sketch and now let's try doing the patch. Again, it might not actually work, but let's try it out because we're curious. Okay, still not allowing me to press OK here. Not a problem at all. What we can do is, because these are completely different surfaces, so that edge belongs to that surface, that edge belongs to that surface, this edge belongs to this surface, and therefore it's actually having a hard time combining all of them. Not a problem. So let's go back into the sketch. So I'm just going to click on the sketch and press Edit Sketch. And now I'm going to try and create some guides for the patch to follow. So either we can do that, or we can split the spline like we did about 2 or 3 videos ago. So I'm going to show you an example. Spline. I'm going to take this point and I'm going to attach it to this one. Okay, and now I'm going to do modify, break. So that doesn't look good, but at least it cut the spline. But not a problem. What is happening here now is that it's tried to pull this tangent in a completely different direction. So we can fix that. Let's try and press M on our keyboard and flip this back to where it's supposed to be. That's actually quite funky. That's never happened to me before. So it's not that one, but it's this one that we need to take care of. For some reason, it's got 2 tangents. And I'm not entirely sure why. And now we can try pulling this one in to see what is actually wrong with it. Okay, there's something really distorted here. So I'm just going to remove that. And I'm just going to try and reconnect the two. So not a problem. Stuff like this can happen. And sometimes you won't really understand why. And I've come to grips with the fact that that's okay when we just try again. Okay, so I think that's okay now. Let's press finish. And now because we'll have 4 individual surface lines to deal with, 1, 2, 3, 4, we now hope that the patch will find a natural way to connect them all. Okay, so let's try and patch it up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and press OK. Now, if it still didn't let you do that, just try and rearrange the order in which you select the edges. Sometimes I find that when I select the edge on the surface first, and then I do the lines that we just created, it won't let me do it. But if we first select the lines that we just created, and then select the surface line, then it'll probably let us do it. So let's now try the same for the other lines. So I'm going to bring the sketch back and press edit sketch. And I'm just going to create one more partition because this surface is separate from this one. So just one more. Maybe from here to here. We can pull this up a little bit. And I'm going to try breaking this line again. So just right there. And you can see that in this case, it's completely fine. Let's just see from the side as well if everything's still okay, and it is. Cool, and we are now going to do a patch again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, as you can see, it's not allowing me to patch it up. Let's cancel that and try again using a different order. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Still not allowing me. Let me remove the body that we just created a second ago. So now let's try it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope. So in cases like this where it won't allow you to patch, sometimes I like to try and either edit the sketch, or I can try and do create, loft, and I'm going to loft this section with this section, and I'm going to use this line and that line as a guide rail. And there we go. We have one ready. So I'm not quite sure why that happens, but it can happen sometimes. And in the case where you have 4 edges, then you can easily loft 2 of the edges and use the other 2 edges as the guide rails. I'm glad this happened so I could show it to you on video. Okay, the final thing that's remaining now is this section over here, and hopefully this should be pretty straightforward. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there we go. And now if we hide the sketches, we can see that this is now looking really, really good. Now you might actually mistake this to look like a BMW because it's got that similar shape at the moment in the front. But don't worry, in the next video, we're going to start making this look more and more like a Mercedes. So thank you so much for watching, everyone, and hope you have a great week. I hope I see some of you at least on Monday at 6 p.m. UK time, where I'll be modeling the Dassault Falcon 6X live on YouTube. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Please do like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you on Monday. Take care.